Just imagine for a second you're walking down a street in Paris. You smell it before you see it, right? That incredible aroma of fresh bread from a bakery. Well, what if I told you that scent isn't just about a delicious baguette? It's the smell of history itself. Here in France, every single dish tells a story. A story of power, of revolution, of who people are. So, let's dive in.
I mean, seriously, what if a loaf of bread could tell a story of revolution? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But that's exactly what happened. We're about to see how French food is basically a mirror, reflecting this country's wild, chaotic history, all the way from the fancy royal palaces down to the everyday cobblestone streets.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. To know a culture, eat its history. It's so true. To really get what it means to eat like the French, you have to understand where they've been. French food isn't just a list of dishes on a menu, you know? It's more like a living, breathing archive of this nation's incredible, epic journey.
All right, Act 1, the ancient hearth. From Gallic feasts to monastic fealty, you know how it goes. To get where we are now, we've got to go way, way back to the beginning. Let's look at how the very first layers of flavor were put down.
So, let's set the stage. We're talking way before France was even a thing. First, you've got the Gauls, around 500 BC. These guys were amazing farmers, and get this, they invented the wooden barrel, a total game changer for storing things. Then boom, 52 BC, the Romans show up, and they bring with them the tastes of the Mediterranean, wine, olive oil, all those amazing spices. Fast forward a bit to Charlemagne's time, around 800 AD. Now it's the monasteries who are the real MVPs. They're the ones preserving and perfecting the arts of making cheese and wine. They were the quiet guardians of flavor, really.
But here's something that was true right from the start. What you ate depended entirely on who you were. The divide was stark. I mean, you have the peasants, right? They're getting by on simple bread, maybe some vegetable gruel. Meanwhile, the nobles are having these insane feasts. We're talking roasted swans, peacocks, crazy elaborate pies. Their tables were literally piled high with food designed to do one thing: scream, "I am rich and powerful."
Okay, let's jump forward. Act 2, the royal palate, the birth of a cuisine. This is where things get really interesting. We're in the 17th century, and cooking is about to go from just, feeding yourself to becoming a legitimate art form. And it all happens under the monarchy.
And check this out. This is the first cookbook to ever label a style of eating French. The guy responsible? François Laveran. His book, from 1651, was an absolute bombshell. It completely broke with the heavy, spiced-up food of the Middle Ages and basically wrote the rules for a whole new, much more refined way of cooking.
So, what was so revolutionary? Well, it was a total shift in philosophy. Step 1. He tossed out all those heavy medieval spices like clove and cinnamon that were used to cover up the taste of not-so-fresh meat. Step 2, instead, he focused on bringing out the natural flavors of the food. Think fresh herbs, onions, shallots. And step 3, this is the big one. He mastered the sauce. He's the guy who gave us the roux, that simple mix of flour and fat. I mean, think about it. That's the base for so many incredible sauces we still eat today. It was a complete game changer.
And just how big of a deal was this? Huge. His cookbook went into more than 50 editions in the latter half of the 17th century. 50! That means this new way of thinking about food wasn't just staying in the fancy kitchens of the rich. It was spreading like wildfire, reaching home cooks all across the country.
Okay, Act 3, Revolution on the Plate, when the people stormed the kitchen. So, while the aristocrats are obsessing over their perfectly refined sauces, something else is happening out on the streets. Resentment is boiling over. And that brings us to, the main event. A political revolution that's about to turn the entire world of food completely upside down. And what was at the heart of this revolution? So many things, of course, but a huge one was food, or rather, the lack of it. Specifically bread. The price of bread was everything. In 1775, things got so bad that you had what's called the Flour War. More than 300 riots across France, with people just demanding affordable bread. Hunger was literally the fuel for the fire of revolution.
And then, everything changed. The revolution hits full force. The aristocrats, they're either fleeing the country or, losing their heads, which created a very interesting problem for a very specific group of people. They're highly skilled personal chefs. Suddenly, all these culinary geniuses were unemployed, out on the streets of Paris. So what happens next?
Well, they got creative. They took all that incredible talent and opened up shop for,
everyone. This is the birth of the restaurant as we know it. The word itself comes from restorative because, at first, they served these comforting broths to people who were feeling unwell. But it didn't take long for the idea to explode. For the first time ever, you didn't have to be an aristocrat to eat a meal cooked by a top chef. It was a totally revolutionary idea. Dining out became a thing for the public.
So Act 4, a nation of flavors, the power of place. The revolution opened up dining to the masses, but there was another, much older force at play here, and that's the land itself. So let's zoom out from the streets of Paris and look at the geography of France. This is where we get to talk about one of my favorite concepts, terroir. It's this beautiful French idea that the land, the soil, the climate, the whole environment gives food its unique character. And France is the perfect example. You've got the coasts giving you amazing seafood for a bouillabaisse. The vast plains, perfect for growing wheat for the iconic baguette. The mountains, where the cool air is ideal for making incredible cheese. And of course, the vineyards, like in Burgundy, that produce some of the best wines in the world. It's all connected to the plate.
And the French don't just talk about this stuff, they protect it with the force of law. It's called the Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée, or AOC system. It's basically a guarantee of authenticity. Take Roquefort cheese. It got the very first AOC label back in 1925, and that label means that true Roquefort can only be aged in the natural caves of Roquefort-sur-Sauzon, nowhere else. It's a national promise of quality tied directly to a place.
And now for Act 5, the global table, how France taught the world to eat. Okay, so with its roots so deep in history and in the land itself, French cuisine was now ready for its biggest act yet, taking over the world. This is the story of how it became the global benchmark for fine dining.
And if you're talking about French food going global, you have to talk about this man, Auguste Escoffier. In the 19th century, he looked at the chaos of professional kitchens and created order. He invented the brigade system, the hierarchy of chefs that nearly every professional kitchen on earth still uses today. He literally wrote the textbook on French technique, the one that's still taught in culinary schools everywhere.
And this incredible influence got the ultimate seal of approval in 2010. That's when UNESCO, of all organizations, declared the gastronomic meal of the French to be an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. And notice, they didn't just say the food was great, they honored the entire experience, the social ritual of eating together, the art of pairing food and wine, the whole celebration of it all. It was recognized as a true cultural treasure for the whole world.
So that brings us to today, the conclusion, the modern table, tradition in a changing world. After all this history, all this prestige, where does French food stand now? Well, the story definitely isn't over, and the modern French dinner table is actually a place of, well, a bit of a battle.
It's a real tug of war. On one side, you have tradition. Think of a slow, braised boeuf bourguignon, a long, multi-course meal with family on a Sunday. But on the other side, you have modernity. The kebab sandwich with fries on top that's super popular, the American fast food chains you see everywhere, and what the French have this great word for, malbouffe, which basically means junk food. It's a real conflict, especially for younger people who are caught between these two culinary worlds.
So, if food really is living history, then this story is still being written, every single day, on every plate in France. The French table is still a battleground, a place where tradition and the modern world clash. And it leaves us with one final fascinating question to think about. What story will it tell us tomorrow?